I am The Animist, and you're watching the Video and Company Podcast, a podcast where we talk about running a video production business. Today we have Chris Ponder, who is a camera operator and producer. He's worked all over the East Coast, and the man travels a lot. He has a lot of experience with doc television style, whether that's sports or music documentaries. He'll explain further in the show. We talk about the differences between freelancing and full-time, as well as the benefits of owning your own gear. So, here's Chris Ponder.
Before we got here, it took time in Baltimore. We moved up there. I moved up there. I'd almost quit doing video work because I was in Asheville, where I grew up. Mm-hmm. And it's like people in Asheville don't want to pay for video. I don't think they still want to pay for video.
I don't hear a lot about it.
Rewind to 2011 when I'm like out of college and have a little video camera. No one wants to pay for video, and I think they still don't. And part of like the whole thing is just like selling that value that you talked about, being able to show them the value and why they should have it. Mm-hmm. So was in TV in Asheville, worked at the only TV station just as a camera operator, production assistant, doing audio boards, graphics, editing, and went to Baltimore and I got a job. I had shot like a couple of very low division college soccer games before I moved up there. Just saw this job opening with the Wizards and the NHL team, the Capitals. Just applied, like camera operators for NBA and NHL team. Okay, didn't think I would ever get it, but they called me like 2 weeks later and was like, hey, we're filling these positions for the 2014-2015 season. Do you want to come and do it? You're in North Carolina. Like, would you move up here? Like, yeah, I'll be there like tomorrow. So from there we kind of, I met a buddy like the first weekend I was there. I met a guy who probably ended up becoming my best friend in Baltimore. He was a video producer, really talented, like producer, editor. He worked for a small branding agency, and we were just shooting GH4s. Mm-hmm. Did a lot of like pharma work and corporate brands.
No, was this like separate from the game stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was nice because I had these games, where I was going and shooting these games and getting a lot of experience. I love sports. I played sports, wanted to be involved in sports production. But I quickly realized when you're shooting games for broadcast, like there's no creativity whatsoever. Yeah. Like it's fun, but you have a director in your ear yelling at you, like. But I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and so we started doing this branding stuff, and on a freelance basis. That was probably like 2015, 2016 summer hits, and I'm like, no sports are going on, still like trying to build this network in Baltimore, and applied for a job on Staff Me Up. Someone told me about Staff Me Up. I don't even remember who it was.
Yeah, I've heard you mention it quite
a bit. I applied for a job on there as a camera op for this show. They didn't say what kind of show it was. It was just like, there's a reality doc show coming to DC on a historic rock club in DC. Like, I love rock music. Okay, I'll apply. And I think I applied for like the assistant camera job. Mm-hmm. Production manager calls me up and is like, hey, you applied for this assistant camera job, but did you not know, like, we're also hiring camera operators? Did you not see that ad? Because you seem like you would be fit to run camera for us. I'm like, oh, no, I didn't see that one. I definitely want to run camera. They're like, okay, well, I'm just the production manager. Your resume looks great. You got a reel. It looks good. I'll put you in touch with the DP and director. And so have a meeting with the DP, who was younger than I was at the time. And he's like, yeah, we're probably going to shoot him on FS7s. Not quite sure yet.
Yeah.
But that camera at that time it was new. It had been out, I don't know when it came out, like 2014 maybe.
Just weird for a show to pick up something brand new.
Yeah. So, but they were pouring a lot of money into it. It turns out it was a PBS show on the 930 Club, and you know, it is a historic rock club in DC, and so we ended up shooting on FS7s. And we shot like Leon Bridges. We were shooting We were shooting big acts, like every like North American tour that was going on at that time, 2015 to 2016.
Came to that venue. I mean, that was the rock venue in DC. I mean, like Dave Grohl like kind of like helped found it. You know, he grew up in DC and started that whole punk rock scene in like the early 80s, I guess, late 80s, I don't really know. We shoot that show from like October until maybe like April, and then we're done with it. And the FS7s that we used just went into storage. And I probably get a call like, I stayed working with that DP a lot. We worked from like, I mean, I worked with him until I left Baltimore in 2018. And I get a call probably like, so that was 2016 in April when it ended, probably like 2017, early 2017, I think. I got a call from the like executive producer. I was like, hey, you know, they had asked me to shoot some stuff for him too, so I stayed in touch with them and had shot some stuff for him, and they were like, but it was never on the FS7 that we were working. And so they hit me up and they're like, so we got this FS7, we're gonna buy it, potentially, like, are you in the market? I'm like, yeah. Were they giving it like market value, or like did you happen to get it like cheap? Because I remember when it came out, like, shoot, I mean, 2 years ago, it was still like above like 12,000, I think.
No, I got a pretty good deal on it. I think I paid like, had 120 hours or something, and I paid like $6,000 for it.
Oh man. In
2017.
That's nuts.
It didn't really change too much for me in Baltimore and DC, because there were so many people in Baltimore, or not Baltimore really, but in DC that had FS7s.
Yeah.
Even then, you know, like, they were everywhere up there, and it was either like a C300, all docs and like corporate work, most work, like, was getting shot, I feel like, on the FS7 or the C300.
Yeah, I mean, producers even, because like I remember when I was on those like contract apps where like you would basically get notifications for contracts and you would bid on them or whatever, like all corporate work, all producers were like C300 or like FS7, but like they didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
They just know it's like, we want that, don't care. And I was like, I got the C100. They're like, it's got to have a 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, come on.
Which the C100 was incredible. Loved
like
that camera.
Barely a difference.
Loved that camera. But so yeah, I think it didn't help me too much. It helped me get a job. I will say, I got my last little bit up there. I got a contract job, which was crazy because I had never really. Well, I got the TV show, but I don't even know if I signed like a contract. Maybe I did.
But you were on like a payroll, or was it just like?
Yeah, I was just on a payroll. I don't even
one big check.
Maybe I signed like an NDA, you know, and so like I probably did sign some kind of contract, but not like this show where I was like a producer shooter, which was crazy because that was a step up for me, and I was working with an NBA player. But because I had that camera, excuse me, they were like, oh, you have this camera? Sweet, like, that's what we want, like, and it's yours. You don't have to worry about renting it. You have a package, you know, like a lens package and some lights. Like, all right, like, then your reel looks great. You're hired. So that was good for me, because that was, the project didn't, it was just, again, okay, but I learned a lot. Made good money.
Now, is that NBA show? That's not the ACC thing you've been working on?
No, so that was for the Uninterrupted. And it was just like kind of like a spending a season with an NBA player, basically. I don't even remember the name of the show now. It was like it was all digital. It was all digital content, quick, like.
You mean like mobile?
Yeah.
Okay.
All YouTube.
Yeah.
So like Uninterrupted they're now like have shows on HBO, but before this it was all just a YouTube channel. And so yeah, that was fun. But that having the FS7 was huge for me in that, because I didn't have to ever, the way an NBA player's schedule works, like, and the way this show worked was pretty much like, if you get a call, you have to go. So they put me on a retainer, and basically I didn't really it was almost enough for me not to accept any more work like throughout the month.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, because you have to be ready. You never know when this dude's going to call you and be like, hey, Chris, come down here and film something with me. You know, like, so having a camera, your own camera was pretty crucial.
Absolutely.
But now once I moved down here, it's been really good for me to have a camera down here
for renting.
Or for shooting also. For shooting, I think when I bought the camera, we had always like maybe had a plan of like, we may move like somewhere. And
was this when you were in Baltimore?
Yeah, okay. When I was in Baltimore, it was like, we may move somewhere, like, and that was one of the like selling points to my wife, was like, here's a good deal. This camera is like the #1 rented camera in the world.
Still is.
I know, it's crazy. I got down here and I just kind of needed, I was like, look, we're going to this new place. I don't know anyone. I have a reel, but Charlotte's like full of talented people. And
you showed me the reel at the time. I was like, this is better than my stuff, dude.
Well, appreciate that. But it's like, a lot of it, I mean, we're shooters, and we have this conversation at work a lot. It's like, shooters are a dime a dozen. I think like everybody wants to be one. Not everybody, but a lot of people, like,
yeah.
And it's fun. Like, we get to do cool stuff. Like, at the end of the day, like, we work hard and it's not easy. And but so I was moving down here and I was like, man, I don't have this network. I like keep my eye on the Charlotte market from Baltimore, and like I see like companies and people doing like awesome stuff. I'm like, well, if I have a camera, then maybe I can at least like that's an extra selling point. Like I can just offer myself as an owner operator, and it worked out. I definitely I got gigs. I got some gigs, and they weren't probably maybe like 1 or 2 was local, or it was more like, oh, Huffington Post came into town for a day, 2 days to shoot something, and they needed an owner operator. So because I was an owner operator, like I got that gig. I think. I mean, not only because I was an owner operator, but that helped because they didn't have to pay rentals.
And obviously, like, your resume and your reel kept getting you these other like full-time, part-time jobs and these gigs all along the way. And it's like, I know me in the past, even with, not a camera, not like, a real camera package, but like a good-looking reel and a good resume still wasn't enough for me to get like a lot of jobs. I've applied to so many jobs, and I've gotten one media production job, and it was kind of like not really real because it was like, in-house for a small company. Yeah. But yeah, so I wouldn't choke it up to the camera for sure.
Yeah.
It does help though.
It does help. And I mean, now that I'm full-time, like the camera was rented out. It's rented out. I mean, it was rented out on almost a whole run of a show, from...
Are you using ShareGrid, or are you doing it privately?
It's privately. I started a ShareGrid, and then, side note about me, I'm terrible with technology.
Okay.
And, that's why... Weird. You hand me a camera...
You have the most dense menu system camera you can find.
And I will figure it out. But you give me, my phone or a computer or a fax machine or, a copier, no, I don't even know where to begin. I think I had to put a picture of the gear online, and I was like, oh,
screw that.
Do I want to take my phone out and take a picture right now of my camera? Or my camera might have been gone or something. Huh?
I think there's commission too, which is sometimes that just kind of cannibalizes the whole thing.
Yeah, right. And so, yeah, I mean, I've definitely looked into it. And I created an account, I think, but I probably forgot the password.
Well, could you explain the process a little bit? Because I'm interested in selling and renting this out, like getting like its own like Pelican case where it's just for renting it out kind of thing. Like, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to take from people? This might be helpful to like some other people that want to leave ShareGrid.
What I do,
no offense,
what I do is just, it's been not easy for me, but the relationships I had are with like producers or producer shooters, and they've needed it, and so I haven't even had to like market it at all.
And it's not random people.
And it's not random. You know, somebody hit up Charlotte Film Rentals. You know, I think the only random call I've got was like a couple weeks back. Somebody was like, "Hey, do you have an FS7?" And
probably from like getting tagged on Facebook.
They were like, "No, but this person does." And so I just got a message from somebody in Charlotte. Was like, "Hey, you have an FS7?" Blah blah blah. So I don't really market it, but you know, on that Charlotte Film Pros group, you know, a lot of times people will post like, "Hey, I need an FS7," or they're not a lot, but I've seen posts. Yeah, and so what I usually do is just I'll go into Lens Rentals and okay, what does Lens Rentals charge for a Blackmagic, you know, Ursa for 2 days? Okay, so this is what they charge. I don't know what it is, but I mean, with the FS7, same. Like, I'll just type in how many days do you need it for. You know, I got 4 cards, 2 batteries that get you through the whole day. I'll just put a package together on Lens Rentals, and then, you know, like.
So you're renting out lenses too?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
what's the mount on that?
It's so I have a Metabones EF. It's a Sony E mount.
Okay.
E mount. But I got an EF adapter on it. So it's got a Canon EF adapter, Metabones. And yeah, I'll just like, hey, this is what Lens Rentals does. This is what I'll do. You know, I'm gonna match Lens Rentals, not make you pay shipping. So yeah.
Well, so do you think you having the jobs with like the Wizards and the Capitals in Baltimore like helped push you into having a network quicker, so that when you came down to Charlotte, you were pretty much freelance, right?
When I got to Charlotte?
Yeah. So like you kind of like didn't have that like network enhancer, such as like a full-time job to like, or even being in that community. So like, did you feel like it was a different process for you to like build that network or to like get the work?
Yeah, definitely. Because I was freelance, you know, I was just freelance with the Wizards and the Capitals. Now, granted, they called it like a part-time position. It was still just freelance, and I was just freelancing other places. But once you got in that building, I mean, they're a professional sports organization, and like the people that were on that, they had a huge video. I mean, there was 3 teams when I first started that they had to produce video content for, and so there was like a production team of probably, I don't know, like 30 people.
Wow.
Between editors, shooters, producers, like, you know, executive producers, and like, you know, coordinating producers and all that, and so those people had been in DC, you know, they were connected, and some of them had been there producing stuff for a long time, and so like from there, it led me to almost everywhere else. You know, from there I went to I got a connection with Discovery, and then like my
Discovery Channel,
Discovery Communications, which is Discovery Channel. Discovery Communications was like right in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is just right outside of DC, and they've since gone. But anyway, yeah, like now, you know, and then I met the guy who was in Baltimore, and who also like kind of like helped me. He played volleyball and intramural volleyball, beach volleyball in Baltimore. Like the first Sunday I was there, we went and played volleyball, and he was on my wife's team, and he was like, "You do video?" Like, yeah. And so he was pretty connected, and like in Baltimore, I just had to like, these opportunities were there. Once you get the opportunities, like that's where it really starts. You know, like you work your butt off to get somewhere, and then once you get it, like you have to work even harder.
Yeah.
To keep it. And so
keep up.
Yeah, to keep up. And so I just had a great little like network, and like I'd carved out this little niche of like I was getting to do my sports fix, and like I went from broadcast shooting into like shooting features and like just artsy stuff with long lenses during the games, you know, like, which I love doing. I don't have a director in my ear. I just take a camera out, put it down on a low boy or on my shoulder, and just like shoot art and color of sporting events. Is like a blast to me. So I was doing that, and then I had this other like corporate branding type thing and network, slowly getting into, you know, commercials, which was like I feel like a good next step. And then we moved, and so when we got down here, I didn't have like a pro sports team to go into. You know, the Hornets are here, the Panthers are here, and Raycom is here. Raycom's like a direct pipeline to ESPN if you want to do that. And there's been a lot of talent go through the doors of Raycom, and they've like turned out a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Talented producers, shooters, editors, you know.
Raycom's kind of like that common denominator across like a lot of the people that are like, I would say, not like pioneers or titans within the industry in Charlotte, just like it's like if you are doing this seriously for a living, like everybody kind of knows the people that are coming in and out of it.
Yeah, and I think they put ACC sports on TV, Jefferson Pilot, Raycom. So like they've been here forever. I mean, for not ever, but for like 40 years, I think, 30, 40 years. And so it was easier in Baltimore. Here, I think it was just harder because
the demand's a little lower.
Demand's lower.
Would you say the saturation's about the same though?
It's saturated up there.
Yeah.
I would say.
And also you got people that like, you know, if there's work in DC, people from New York can come and take it.
Yeah.
Like whether we're here, it's like no one's coming from Atlanta to take our work necessarily. It's the other way around maybe, but.
It's the other way around. It's also people from LA coming in.
True. Yeah.
A lot of people, I mean, I have a buddy who PAs a lot around town, and I mean, he's been on numerous shoots lately where he'll say, oh yeah, they got a DP from, I was with an LA crew, you know, I was with a New York crew, like. And
is it all that union work?
I don't know what it is. I have no, I mean, it's like commercials, you know, it's like, it's just little commercials here and there that I'm like, man, there's like really talented people in Charlotte that they could have gotten to do this. Like, it was saturated up there, but there was also so much work to go around. I mean, I went to Philly a lot. I went to New York and shot stuff. And people came down too, you know, but here I think it's, I don't know. I don't have the last 6 months. Like Raycom caught me at a really good time because I was really slow last summer, like super slow.
I think you might be the first one that like is first in-house that's been on the show. I've got other friends that are in-house. Yeah. And a lot of them will say like, oh, the in-house guys, they get overworked.
Yes.
Blah, blah. Okay, so you're, okay. I was actually trying to look for like a contrast, but so what could you say like have been like benefits that people aren't going to realize, or people don't even think about it because they're like, oh, I just want to be an entrepreneur, but it's like,
Being able to say no and being able to walk away at the end of the day, and it's not necessarily like you're worrying about it, because when I get home, when I leave a shoot, no matter if I'm freelance or full-time, I'm instantly like playing everything back in my head, like, where did I go wrong? How could I have done this better? You know, it's like a post-mortem, you know, of like what happened, you know, like shoots go well a lot of times, but there's always things you can do better and improve upon. And so, but with freelance, I guess what I'm getting at is like, you can leave it. At the end of the day, you can leave and you can wash your hands clean almost of it if it's not a client that, or regardless, if it's a shoot, like, I mean, you just get to go home and like that shoot's done. You got to move on to the next one. With being in-house, it's not an advantage at all.
Is it because you're going to be around for the post-production?
Yeah, I mean, and everything. It's just like you're there and you just don't get to leave like in my head I'm still thinking like, oh, I got to do my expense reports, or I got to do this, or like you just don't get to leave and be like, all right, I get to go on to the next shoot, you know, like.
It's weird because I feel like freelancers say the same exact thing. That like we're as soon as we're done, we're just reliving everything.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we do expense report. You know.
Yeah.
You used to do expense reports. I'm sure it just was a lot lighter, with like the intensity of like having someone breathe over your shoulder, like the accountant department.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I do think there's an advantage of these people are invested in me. Like they want to see me grow. They like, you know, my producer who's been in this game for 25 years, or my coordinating producer, my boss who's seen a lot and done a lot. Like he believes in me and he's invested in me and he wants to see me grow, not only as a shooter. He already thinks I'm a good shooter, but as he wants to see me grow into a director of photography, and he wants to see me grow into a storyteller and an editor. You know, he's like taking time out of his day to be like, Chris, now like how this, you know, when you get into Avid, like, and we use Avid, which is like a whole nother language to me, even though it's still non-linear editing, like I'm a like Premiere guy, you know, like, and it's different. Like it's just it's not completely different, but it's different. And so that's been a big learning curve, but they are invested in me, and so that's nice. That's a good feeling. But no, they have a 401k, which, you know, that's good. Yeah. So that's a good benefit. But yeah, like.
But I mean, we, like, I could go get an IRA right now. I definitely should. I have like so many people being like, "Why haven't you done it yet?" I'm like, give me a second.
Because I'm trying to run a business and do a lot of things, and there's a lot of stuff
but I mean,
to do.
Like, I could go get an IRA, but it's like having the ability of like a 401k at your place, or it's like that is a benefit.
Yeah.
You know, that is so. Yeah.
So that's good. But yeah, man.
Do you miss freelance?
100%.
But do you not miss the sales process and waiting for the phone to ring and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't miss that at all, because I'm not a salesman. Like, if it was up to me, like I don't really market myself at all. You know, my Instagram page where people market themselves like a lot is not like, it's just personal stuff. That's like a personal blog to me almost. When I do add something, it's like maybe of my kids and just like my little Fuji. I have a Fuji.
Nice. Is it film?
No, it's X-T3. It's sweet though. I love that camera.
I love those.
I love that camera.
Those are beautiful.
It's like a little sleeper. But they're coming out with the X-T4 now, and I'm kind of bummed because it does have some cooler stuff, and I'm just like, man. So I've shot a lot of video on it, mostly just of my kids. But I'm never have time to like put it in an editor. So I haven't even really seen what F-Log can do. I just know the pictures and the color on those pictures.
Well, I like the profiles they have on there.
Are incredible, man. I'm just like, I love the colors of it. So yeah, but I don't really like market myself.
I know there's a ton of people that are just like that.
And I think that's partly just me. Partly like I was lucky and blessed in Baltimore that I already had a crew. Like I was this guy's shooter. My best friend was his editor, and like me and the director would go shoot things, bring it back to my buddy who was a great editor, and like he would edit it. And so like I got calls, you know, I didn't have to market myself. And in Charlotte, I feel like if I go back into freelancing, I'm gonna have to do that. Maybe not. I don't know. Like at least a little bit. Like
I think you're developed in the network. I mean,
I haven't cut a reel.
I think you're pretty developed. You're fine.
I got this. That was nice. I haven't cut a reel since 2018 though. And so I looked at that, and I've been seeing these great reels from people. Like there's so much.
It doesn't take long to cut a reel. You know it.
I
just cut 2 yesterday. They're trash. I cut them.
Let's see them. I want to see them. They're probably not trash.
Well, they're like not from original footage, so like I'm editing like 50 megabyte footage into like another 50 megabyte file, and it's like, it's just like crunchy.
Yeah. I think maybe I will say it's making me grow as having a full-time job is making me grow as a just an individual. Time management is something that I like struggle with, and that's something that my bosses have been working on. They're like, look, they can see me like struggling with like managing my time, and like because I have a lot more responsibilities than I've ever had.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you got to get better at time management.
Yeah.
So that's making me level up time management. Like I'm leveling up because I'm talking to ACC like sports information directors who like, I mean, in this field, like in this arena of sports broadcasting and sports production, like you don't really get much bigger than the ACC if you're in college sports. Like, so I'm like on the phone with SIDs from like ACC schools, which, you know, that's helping my communication skills.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm leading some teams, which is helping me grow. So it's like an advantage of like it's making me grow as a person, and I don't really call myself a DP. I don't want to sound like a prude, but like again, like
Deacons is like
is
you're
a
doing
DP.
it. You're doing it though, you know?
Yeah.
I remember, and maybe this will be like a big quote or whatever. You know Matt Workman? Matt Workman like was probably the most influential piece in my like exponential growth as a DP. And the reason I took on that terminology pretty early, i.e. early being like past 4 years, is he said when being a DP supports your lifestyle, that's when you can use the name. So that's him. That's his quote. I was like, I am living on myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm paying my bills just from this. And I'm like, Matt Workman said I can do it. So
he's good. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, it's still like,
I know it's because
weird.
we see people that are like way beyond us, and it's kind of hard to share names.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's time.
Yeah.
Not
right.
terminology.
Yeah, that's right. That is time, and it's just like when I'm comfortable going into any building, any setting, any like anywhere, and just being like, all right, I know exactly what I'm going to do here.
Yeah.
Then I might call myself that. But you know, I got the film set objects that I'll like do some lighting plots on. But I've still been looking for a good like template to do just like a shot
treatment?
sheet or a treatment.
I'm actually going to be releasing one that I can give you. It's just a Google Doc template, and you just replace the words, and you right click replace images and format. I'll be making like a little YouTube video because somebody made a good point that like I used to not do music video treatments because I would be making treatments and then people wouldn't book, and it just got to the point now where it's like once I get to a little bit into the negotiation, I send them a treatment because then it like gets them a little more excited, gets me prepared a little earlier.
You know, I think just seeing other people and knowing like how people have got their starts, like right, it's music. Like if you want to go kind of like the commercial / narrative film, like unless you just start shooting films. But I mean, I think maybe I'm not wrong in the fact that a lot of like shooters, cinematographers, directors like start making music videos.
Yeah, I mean Spike Jonze is a good example.
Yeah, and so to be able to like get money for it is really nice.
Yeah, and I have no interest in doing narrative, but like music videos is a format where you can experiment as much as possible. Like I can have like 6 lighting setups that are way out there.
Yeah.
And everybody's like on board. You try to do that with a corporate shoot and they're like, go home.
Yeah.
Like we don't want this.
Yeah, we'd
open a window, bounce something in the ceiling, that's it.
Yeah, that's it's cool, man. I did a couple music videos where I was just like an op.
I heard you did one recently with Rivera and Kevin.
I brought on Rivera because Rivera is very talented.
Oh yeah.
And you know, the director and I kind of worked through it. You know, he sent me some like colors, and he sent me obviously the song and kind of his his ideas. You know, we worked through it together, and we had worked on. He shot like a narrative, little indie film. Was nothing little about it. It was like a 90-minute indie feature.
What was it?
It was called Fall Nights in China Grove. Anyway, we shot that music video. I worked with the director from that,
on the music video, and it was fun, man. It was like really kind of my first like go around at getting to like actually DP a music video, and not just operate and kind of like be there with the DP to help, you know, like because in Baltimore, you know, like we had a DP and he DP'd everything, and so I was there operating, gaffing, but I was never like necessarily like taking DP credit. I was never in those like initial discussions with like a band, you know, like, well, what do you want here? What kind of look, you know, what all goes on there. But with this one I was, and it was cool. We came up with a I mean, when I first heard the song, I was like, this sounds like Nirvana and Weezer had a baby.
The frames did remind me of Teenage Spirit
a
little bit.
I know, we got a little too Teenage Spirit.
I liked it. I was shocked y'all were able to get a full band in that like area.
So that was our gear cage.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That was our gear cage at Raycom. We cleaned it all out because it's usually there's a little cyc wall back there that's on some like sawhorses that we shoot like little macro stuff, and like for our docs we always shoot pictures. We'll just like print out pictures and then like build some kind of little set around it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
We use the Aries, and we also had a Source 4, which I'm shooting something Saturday, and I'm
Alex was talking about Source 4s the whole time. I've never heard of them.
It's really powerful. It's probably like a 650, 750, and it's just like a hard beam of light. And we have one of them. I wish we had two of them because I would have used two of them, but we didn't. And there was no budget music video. I mean, actually we had a budget, but I literally just like, they were like, well, we have this budget. What do you want for it? I'm like, well, we got to pay some talent. You know, we got to get some gear. Like, the director was like, how would
just fold it back in?
Yeah, I was like, the director was like, how would you spend this budget on this music video? And I was just like, and pay yourself. And I was like, I wouldn't. I was like, I'll just, whatever you want to pay me, just put it towards camera, and that's fine. So that's what we did, and we ended up shooting it on a Red, shot it on the Gemini, which was, we were gonna shoot it on the FS7. Some things happened. Mine was out on rental, and like it didn't make it back in time, so we had to shoot it on a Red. We had to shoot it on the Gemini, and it turned out really nice because we did some low light stuff, and we were in low light. Well, we weren't in low light. It was
just
cage.
Modi.
Yeah,
that kind of dark.
I guess from doing that music video, and we can wrap whenever. Like, I don't know what time it is. I know my phone.
I think it's like 2:20.
Oh, it's 2:20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get the fuck out of here.
Was it so ACC?
Season 1's an ACC network. I didn't do too much of that, but season 2,
part of it.
I've been mostly. I mean, I've produced 2 of the episodes and shot on all the other ones.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah, man, it's been a blast. Enjoyed it.